All right, guys, we're back. Another Supercoach video before the start of the season. It's Friday. You know what that means. It's less than a week until the season starts. It starts next Thursday. Carlton Richmond. They completely scrapped the grand final rematch gimmick, which I actually thought was pretty cool, but whatever. So I'll go over the team. Again, like I said, there's still 6 days to go, so this is going to change again. Let's not kid ourselves here. But I do feel pretty good about most of the picks here. It's mainly just player preferential picks. Like, you know, do I like this guy a little bit more than this guy? That's all. Structure wise, it's pretty much set. But yeah, it's just kind of what player do I prefer. But anyway, let's get into it. So starting in defense, we've got Doherty as D1. This has stayed the same for a minute now. I really like the role, like the potential in him. You can't go wrong with like Sicily, Stewart, Dawson as D1. You can't really go wrong with them. Stewart's got the highest ownership, which is a little both interesting and concerning. So what can happen is Stewart just pumps out a huge score round one, and then you're already starting behind the 8 ball, which is possible against Collingwood. Yeah, I don't know. I feel a lot safer with the Doherty pick. The defense mid time, I think it's a little bit of smoke and mirrors, especially off the preseason. I don't see him playing much mid time. It's just you've got like Walsh, Cripps, Hewitt, Chera, Kennedy, and like there's heaps of guys that's just going to rotate through that midfield. There's no way that they're going to add in another big name. And like Doherty's not just a big name in Supercoach, but he's a big name at the club. So if he was to go into the midfield, he'd command a lot of attention. I don't think he'd want to do that. But I do see him like kind of going in there once injuries kick in, end of the year, just, you know, doing some shifts. But yeah, I'm picking him mainly as just his defensive role, which he's super good at. Yeah, I don't see an issue with him. Next, we've got everyone's favourite pick, Elliot Yeo, who is the 3rd highest. Okay, I think he used to be the 2nd highest. But yeah, now he's 3rd. So Yeo just seems like a really safe pick to me. Again, West Coast bias. When I talk about West Coast players, just take it with a grain of salt. Looks super fit, like the role. I liked the preseason game. I saw everything I needed to see. I was a lot happier that he had low time on ground in preseason, just because of an injury history. I didn't want him playing like, you know, 85% game time or something like that. I think he only ended up close to, say, around the 70 number, which I was completely happy with. West Coast aren't good. Let's be honest here. They're in contention for wooden spoon. It's between, like, say, them, Hawks, and I don't know. Maybe it's just them two, and North as well. But I think North will play slightly better this year. Maybe win a couple more games. But yeah, West Coast are bad, so the ball's going to live in their defensive side. This Yo halfback thing is probably the best for that. So if the ball's sitting back there, Hearn's obviously a good kick. Should lead to Yo getting heaps of it. And then he goes into the midfield. He's been a good midfielder for years now. Just can't stay healthy. Good tackle numbers, good disposal numbers. CBAs are up there. Pretty good kick of the ball. Pretty good. He's not that good, but he's pretty good shot at goal. Yeah, he can kind of rotate around the field a bit. But if just how he's looked and the preseason reports and stuff, I think they're keeping him in this halfback, float into the midfield, swap with Jinby type of thing. I don't really see why you wouldn't just keep that up. Yeah, I'd like that pick. Now next we've got, there he is, Liam Jones. This is one of those picks that, you know, you had an eye on all or the second half of the preseason when the game started kicking around, and yeah, a lot of reports came out about this guy's playing this role. This seems like another pretty safe pick, honestly. Like, scoring wise, probably not going to do insane, but should be able to just hit the numbers he needs to hit for his cash gen. So go to, okay, 20, what's a good year? Say 2020. You see here a lot of 60s, a couple of 70s, even dropped to 40 in there, right? So this isn't the type of guy that's like a premium at 200k. It's not happening. But he should be able to hit the numbers he needs to hit to go up the 150k threshold, which is a good rule to work under, to help in once buys come around. And yeah, round 6 you got the DPPs and stuff like that. If you want to make a move around there, this is a good player for all that. And we haven't, from the preseason game, he looked really good in a role that we haven't seen him in before. The Dogs backline gets heaps of the ball, not all because they're bad or anything like that. It's just because of the way that they play. It's very high disposal football. Yeah, so yeah, we haven't seen him in this role. Could get a bit more touches. Plus, he's like the lead. I think he's got the highest average intercepts over the last 3 years when playing, or something like that. He averaged 3.4 intercepts, which is like tied for number one. I remember seeing the stat. I didn't read the full thing because, to be honest, it doesn't really matter. He's taken a year off. Next, we've got Crozier. So this isn't one of those players I was talking about before. It's kind of player preference. If I want to keep him in, right now he's in. Don't mind it. I think the scoring is slightly better than the scoring potential is slightly better than, say, Liam Jones, slightly, but the job security is not there. So it's kind of one's the scorer, one's the, like, I think Liam Jones' job is pretty secure, especially if he plays like what we know he can play like. Say Crozier could keep his spot. Wouldn't be surprised if there's a sub risk in there at some point in the year, but I think for at least a start, he should be fine. Next, we've got the most popular pick because he's a rookie, Ruben Jinbi, West Coast player. He looked really good in the preseason. If you want like a breakdown of all the preseason matches, I did that. You'll find it on the channel somewhere. Yeah, he looked really good. Really mature, big body, can play in the midfield, comes off the defensive line, kind of halfback role, like I said, swapping with Yo a bit. Yeah, looks a really good rookie for the future. One that I hope the team kind of builds around. And then we're down to D6, which has been a spot of like a bit of conversation, like who do you want to put there? There's a couple options, like do you want to put in extra premium to force Jinbi into like the D6 role? Personally, I'm going with Constable. Saw enough in the preseason game to say like, yeah, he can score okay, at least until everyone comes back. Like you've got Will Powell who has to come back, and then there's also blanking on his name, but there's two guys that have to come back. It should be able to put up enough good scores in the meantime, just to get the cash gen rolling, and then see what you got to do from there, to be honest. I like the pick, like the role. The fact that he was scoring pretty good without me having to see him on TV all the time shows that there's a little bit of like a good baseline there for a good basement for the scoring. Yeah. Next we got you can pick either one of these guys, Wilmot, McKenna. I think right now I've just got Wilmot in. It doesn't really matter. I think I end up with like 50k extra. I can just make the swap. Yeah, so with McKenna, I think his job security is a lot better, but I'm not a fan of his scoring potential, just because he's the kind of player that can play everywhere around the ground. So I wouldn't be surprised if he's like the perfect prototype for a Brisbane sub. Especially with the new rules with the tactical sub, you don't have to have someone hurt. Could see him being like the guy that they decide, okay, we need an extra guy up forward. So they move. Rayner was playing halfback during the preseason. So say they want Rayner to move forward, they chuck McKenna in, and then have Rayner move up forward for someone. Could see that. Wouldn't be great. You wouldn't want a player that's playing sub, but should play all 22, I reckon. He's pretty durable. Yeah, and he's experienced. With all the injuries they've got back there, they probably just want experience. Wilmot, younger of the two, made pretty bad error on the weekend. Hope that doesn't like mean anything just because it was preseason. They were up by like 50 or whatever at the time. Yeah, so hopefully he doesn't make too many errors at the start of the year. But if he does, you know, there always is the McKenna swap. There's Chincotta, who I think a lot of people are hopping onto because of pardon me, the 102 price point. But I do think Cowan is going to be the one that plays, so that's why I've got him in. But like both of these guys, so say Wilmot gets dropped, you swap to McKenna. Cowan gets dropped, you swap him to Chincotta. Pretty easy to swap those guys. As for Cowan, not much in it. Like I said, it's between him and Chincotta are gonna play that role. It's very likely one of the two. I wouldn't be surprised if they somehow do two of the two. Say they put one in and then play the other as a sub and then make a tactical sub. It's possible. That would probably be like bad tactical management, but not impossible, I would say. Of the two, I think I've seen more people talking about Cowan. But then I guess the commentators have kind of given Chincotta a bit of the kind of up. Yeah, I don't know. We'll see. Not much you can do on this one, just because they're the same player, let's be honest. Like, they do the same thing, same role, kind of the same skill set. We'll see. Just wait for Wednesday night for the team lineups. Yeah, so into the midfield. Sort of average for the first couple. So I've got Rory Laird as M1. I think he's going to keep that role this year. I think he's going to be the number one scorer in Supercoach. Wouldn't be surprised if it's Dunkley, but that's different. Yeah, I don't think it is the smartest decision to start both of these guys. You'll make up for it in scoring, I reckon. But from a cash point of view and cap point of view and cash generation point of view and stuff like that, I can't recommend starting both 700k midfielders. I don't think there's that much between them both. For a while, I had Oliver over Laird, just player preference. I like watching Melbourne. But over the preseason games, practice games and stuff like that, Laird reminded me that, yeah, okay, he's number one. Surprising that there's such a large gap here, considering they're the same player. I think it's just the optics of 700k versus not seeing 7 as the first digit. Honestly, I do think that's playing a role into it. Yeah, so there's not really much to say about Laird. Like, you know what you're going to get. You're going to get someone that gets high touches, extremely safe role, just good at every aspect of being a midfielder, right? So I like it. I think Adelaide are on the up this year. They have been for the last couple, to be honest, but don't know about the 8. They could sneak in. I would not be surprised if they sneak in. I think they're being slightly underrated. Some people are saying like they're still bad. That's not true. But I think they're kind of in the running for 7, 8, 9, 10. That kind of range there. Wouldn't be surprised if it gets to the final round, they miss it by a game, type of thing. But yeah, like Laird, I think he's M1 all the way throughout the year. Will he drop in price? Definitely. So you don't have to. He's not like a must start, because he will drop in price. But either way, like I'd say it's an all right pick to start one of these guys. Both of them, like I said, you'll get the points, but you could get equivalent points somewhere else while making better cash. So yeah, I couldn't recommend starting both of them, but the scoring will pay off, so it's not the worst pick, the worst choice in the world. Number 2 is Bontempelli. Again, not much to say about Bont as well. He can play everywhere. He's a Brownlow contender every year. Can move up forward, kick a goal, and play midfield to get 30 touches. 200 threat all the time, like all the time. He's got huge scores, 180s and 190s and 160s and stuff like that. Super safe pick, especially with no Dunkley there. There's now extra mid-time available. No Lockie Hunter there. Extra mid-time available. Hunter was a wing, but you get what I'm saying. Just less players in the midfield makes more mid-time. So yeah, like Bont, I think M2 is the perfect spot for him. Could push a bit higher up. So right now he's at a 116 average. Could probably make it into the 120s. Could see it happening, especially if the mid to forward split is a bit favourable for him. And he's not just getting like locked up forward and like parking in the goal square and stuff like that. Yeah, don't mind it. I think Bont is a very good pick. And especially once it comes to the DPP time, when people start getting it, I do think Bont will get it again. I think that's just how Beveridge plays the team, that Bont gets a lot of time up forward, which just by happening means that Supercoach will give him forward status. Next, who do I have next? I think it's Brayshaw. So this is another spot, M3, which has changed a lot. I've had Brayshaw, I've had Steele, I've had Josh Kelly, who I'm still thinking about. I like the Josh Kelly pick a lot, but we'll get into Brayshaw. So with Brayshaw, you kind of just saw his whole game over the preseason. High disposal count, very high. Wasn't like the best at using it, which led to like a high fantasy score, not so high Supercoach score. Personally, that doesn't worry me that much. He's got a good history versus St Kilda, 189 last year. And that was also to open the season. Is this one? Oh, this one is in Melbourne. Okay. Probably a good game to go to be honest. Let me just... Okay. Yeah, that's his fixture. Just wanted to make sure. Lost complete train of thought. Brayshaw, very good player. Young player, only gotten better every year that he's been in the league, which isn't a ton, but yeah, it still means something. The first run of games, it's pretty good for him. Like I said, Saints, he's got a high score against. North, still probably wooden spoon contenders. I don't see Clarko like being the biggest change in one season. Maybe next year, but not in one season. West Coast, like I said, also wooden spoon guys. Adelaide, a little interesting because they've had midfielders kind of play the defensive lockdown role. Not like super hard tag, but run with a guy and be pretty physical. Gold Coast, same kind of thing. Yeah, I like the first run of games. I like the player. I like watching him. And I think that's one of the more important things for Supercoach that doesn't get spoken about enough. Is players you actually like to watch. So say you're someone that doesn't like watching Essendon and you pick Merritt. When he puts up that bad score, you're going to overreact, trade him out, trade in someone bad, cost yourself 20, 30 points, 100,000 cash, and that's it, like spells the end for your actual like rank climb. Pick someone you like watching, so like that you don't overreact. So Laird, I like watching. Bont, I really like watching. And Brayshaw, Western Australia players, so obviously I like watching. Next, we have... Who do I have next? I know I have another midfielder. Let me have a look. So I do have to kind of set the team up a certain way. Ah, yes. Okay. So I just didn't scroll down enough. Where is he? There he is. Tom Green. Again, I think this is a pretty no-brainer pick. So if you're looking at the team, you're probably like, oh, this is the most template team ever. Yeah, probably. But if it's not broke, don't fix it. None of these players scream issue to me. Tom Green, great preseason. Had the 50 touches in the intra-club, which was against nobodies. Played the actual preseason game. Super good in it. 34 touches, I want to say. Maybe it might have been 32. All the mids in. Got the CBAs. Looked great. Looked very good condition. Shouldn't burn out as fast as he did last year, which was the problem. A lot of people, I'd say it was like round 4 or 5, he really started to go on a tear. People started trading him in, and by say it was just round 4, by about round 11 he was burnt out. So hopefully that doesn't happen again. Doesn't look like it will. Looks like he's really worked on his conditioning and strength and stuff like that. Yeah, I like the pick for someone at 534k. Is priced at Supercoach wise 97 average, so I think he could push 110 range around about here. Yeah, I don't mind it. I really like it actually. Next, another template player everyone's got is Hopper. Actually, you know what, because it's going to play with everyone, I'll do it in price order. So next I have Setterfield, who's a little bit more than Hopper, but he's kind of filling a role for me. I don't really want Will Phillips on field. That's the play here. I like Setterfield more than I like Warple. Warple's the guy that a lot of people are going with. The inaccuracy kicking, the potential to move up forward, and the fact that he had 30 touches and only just broke the ton. It kind of gets to me in a way. Not a fan of it. Don't know if he's the kind of guy I'd start. There obviously is value there. 300k, did ton up, did look good. Heaps of the ball, heaps of mid-time. It's obviously something there in the pick. Just not what I'd do. Me speaking my mind. With Setterfield though, there was a quote that came out talking about how they want to use him as a mid. They also hinted at him playing wing, but I think that's just coaches talk and stuff in the preseason. The only issue is this kind of a wait and see how good he is role, and then they just, we don't really like him as a midfielder, we're losing too many games, let's float him around the field. If that happens, this pick's so dead. We've seen 2 types of Setterfield, right? So what year was it? 2020? 90 average, good scores, mixed in with a couple of bad ones. That was terrible. I remember seeing that. Then 2021, playing this, really just rubbish role. A lot more 40s in there. Somehow he hit a couple of 80s, but whatever. Did not like the way Carlton were playing him. Kind of forced that way. Just like I said, Carlton have so many good midfielders. So now he's playing on a team that don't have that many good midfielders, but you have still got Parrish, Merritt, Shield. Who am I missing? Essendon. So McGrath's more of a defensive player now. Langford will take time in there, but I don't think he's gonna steal all the midfield minutes or anything like that. Caldwell, I think he's playing round 1, but from what I've heard, he's got a different role this year, a lot more defensive. I don't think he's a tagger, but could be. I don't know. I didn't really read into it too much. So yeah, there's opportunity there for Setterfield. 3% ownership. I like the pick. Like I said, this isn't the final team. It's still 6 days till the season starts. So going to make changes. Like the pick for now. Hopper, super. This one's a no-brainer pick if there was one. So 46% ownership. If you don't start him and he goes off, you're starting way behind the 8 ball. So like the pick. Scoring's good, job security's good, role's good, team's good for him. Yeah, I think this is an easy one to start. Next, we've got the rookies. So we've got Ashcroft, who is probably the rising star, let's be honest. As much as I like Jinby, but Ashcroft kind of looks like the best rookie of the draft. Then we've got Cam McKenzie, who was a kind of standout in the preseason. Like I said, if you want more detailed explanation of how these guys played, I did make a video in 2 parts about the preseason games. Went over all of them, talked about all the Supercoach relevant players. Really liked Cam McKenzie's game. Issue is he could be just Josh Ward 2.0. Like, just to give you the cliff notes, could be Josh Ward 2.0, but looks just better in every way. Bit more mature, bit more up here, knowledge of the game. I thought Josh Ward, I said this heaps of times last year, I think he should have started in the VFL for a while. I just didn't think he looked AFL ready when they were playing him, affected his confidence, and then kind of just affected the player. As I was saying before, the reason Setterfield's in is so I don't have to start Will Phillips. I think Phillips is the weakest of the 3 mid rookies. Not by a ton, but by enough that I don't really want to field him. Not a fan of his role. This could change. Like, say he comes out and he just tons up round 1. It's like, oh, okay, well, could happen. It's against West Coast, but it is what it is. Currently, don't really like him as a pick, but he's a good rookie, so I have to pick him. Next, Oscar Baker. Looks like he's locked down a wing spot at the Dogs. Don't see why he wouldn't be able to keep it, to be honest. They're kind of lacking in wing talent, especially with Hunter gone. Yes, they've got Anthony Scott and a bunch of list fillers there. Impressed, should keep his spot though. And then final spot, we've got Alwyn Davey. So he should play. We'll see how the lineups come out. If he doesn't play, it's why I've kept. Once the team gets done, you'll see about 50k in the bank. Just to make a swap here. Like, if I have to, I could get Philippou, who will definitely play because St Kilda used a high draft pick on him. And if he doesn't play, that coaching staff is in trouble from round 1. The Rucks. So, easy one is Marshall, but we'll do it in price order. So, I've got Ruck 1 Darcy. I think he could be Ruck 1 again. He was a couple of years ago. Was it? It wasn't last year. What year was it that he was Ruck 1? Year before, I want to say. Probably just coming off the COVID year. Maybe it was the year before that. He looks really good. One of the interesting things I found out was he's actually one of the more durable ruckmans, even though he is always bandaged up, and you always see he's got a finger injury, a hand injury, a foot injury, a knee injury. He's always playing, so he always does make it out on field. Saves you from having to field a donut or anything. But scoring wise, the preseason was without Luke Jackson, so he didn't see him. But being realistic, I don't see Luke Jackson playing the full ruck role. Don't see it being 50-50. Would be surprised if it's 75-25. I think it's more... Oh, you know what? Probably is 75-25, something like that. Wait and see, though. I wish we got to see him together, but we didn't, so... I like Darcy, though, so I'm fine with picking him. Next is Marshall. Everyone's got this guy. Now that Paddy Ryder's retired, it just kind of unlocks Marshall. So why wouldn't you pick him? He's someone that can be a good ruckman, be good around the ground, kick a goal, put up a 150, pretty easily. So I think that's an easy pick. Then Madden is the loop. So I did decide to start a loop. I don't think I had one previously, but I did decide to start one. Just because McAndrew did not look good. I don't think McAndrew's going to play much at all. Forward line, just add the players in. I think, what's the ownership on these guys? Yeah, 1, 2, and 3. Like I said, this is a pretty cookie cutter team. But why would you change something if you feel good about it and you think it's going to work? I don't see a problem with it. Dunkley, I did say before, he could be the number one scoring player in Supercoach this year. His role at Brisbane looks insane. He's inside mid that kind of goes forward whenever he chooses to. He's pretty good forward. Can kick a goal, pretty accurate. Take a mark. He's just so talented. It's going to be, I think this is going to be one of those picks that dogs are like, damn, we really let him go instead of someone else. Or just, make room for him. Could be a Brownlow guy, to be honest. I could see him polling a couple of votes. Hard in that team because of Neil. Forwards always get a couple of votes when they kick a lot of goals. So could see him getting up there in votes, but I don't know if he was going to win it. Possible though. Next, Taranto is exactly the same as Hopper. Very good role, very good team for him to play on. Disposal efficiency still isn't really there. He does kind of hack it forward a fair bit. But still don't mind it, to be honest. I think he's fine. I think this easy pick to make at the start of the year. Rosie, I wasn't the biggest on this pick coming into the season, but that was solely because I don't watch much Port Adelaide. I think they're one of the more boring teams to watch. Not like St Kilda, which they're a bad team to watch. I think Port just don't play TV style interesting footy. Looking at Rosie going into preseason, stuff like that, he looks great. He looks like someone that's going to be one of the top midfielders for the next couple of years, especially at Port. He has a clear advantage over Butters. So Butters is kind of like the same player in a way, but way more... what would be the word for it? I don't know. Butters, it goes into contest with his head down. It's begging for a concussion, right? Rosie's a bit smarter than that. Still gets heaps of the ball. Plays around the ground pretty good. I think Rosie does have the edge there. So Rosie, Taranto done. To finish the cookie cutter preseason team, we have got Goulden. He just looked so good. You can't not start him. 33% went up from, 2%? You have to start him. You have to. He put up a damn near 200 in preseason. You have to start this guy. Why wouldn't you start him? Everything looks there for him. Okay, Mills and Papley didn't play. Whatever. If he can put up 100, I'm fine with that. He's priced at someone that averaged 85 last year. So I'm so okay with picking this pick, making him as a pick. Next we have Tanner Bruin, who again, he was just a preseason standout. Geelong found another diamond in the rough player. Looks like they fleeced GWS for another guy who always lose talented players, let's be honest. I really like the pick. Should get the mid-time now that everyone's kind of starting to retire at Geelong. Starting to. Still got a couple of years on Dangerfield. Maybe one or two more on Hawkins. Fair couple more on Cameron. Yeah, it's starting to get a bit younger. Chris Scott has to play the young guys eventually, right? Can't go the Spurs model all the way. And then the final spot is Sheasel. So for the first couple of teams, I didn't have Sheasel in because I just thought the thinking was, okay, he's just another forward, but plays for a really bad team. I think the better forward is just Oscar Allen. Plays for, again, a bad team, but I think he's more talented. He's got more experience. The guys kicking to him are a bit better, just, talent-wise, a bit better. I think if you're picking Sheasel just as a forward guy, I think Oscar Allen's a better pick. But with Sheasel, they did rotate him to halfback in the fourth quarter. Or it was third quarter, but fourth quarter. He had 10 disposals in a quarter. Very good efficiency. good role. Like in terms of how he was playing, it was a good Supercoach role. For the team, probably wasn't great, but whatever. Again, North probably wooden spoon. Yeah, I like the pick now. That was enough to sell me on it. Hopefully he keeps that role. We'll wait and see on it though. So if you don't want to pick him, like I said, Oscar Allen's right there. There's also Radicalia, who is my next pick. He's playing kind of that defense role. Should be able to put up good enough scores to make cash. It's 174k. It's cheaper than 2 of the rookies, 3 of the rookies. Almost 4 is 3k more than Jinbi. He should be able to make enough to go up in cash. So playing the defense role, I think he scored 60 on the weekend, or 70. Did he? Or did he get hurt? I can't remember now. But yeah, I think he's just fine to pick, especially on the bench. I'd be a bit more hesitant if I was to field him. I do like Sheasel on field a little bit more, just because of that halfback game, that quarter that he played. But yeah, I think Radicalia is pretty safe in the 22. So is the next guy, Fergus Green. So he looked very good on the weekend. He's not really a tall, but he's playing third tall at Hawks with no Mitch Lewis there. And I think Mitch is out till round 2 or 3. Gives Fergus a lot of time to shine. Looks like someone that just knows how to play forward. Where he is playing for a bad team. Again, bad team. Oh, okay, Radical is not a bad team. But the Hawks are a pretty bad team. So this could be another one of those. Wait until lineups come out and just find another playing player here. So ones that will play. Philippou, I think, plays. I think there's very, very high percentage chance he plays. I think McLean plays one way or another. I don't know the role. I don't know if it's sub, if it's on field, or whatever it is. I do think he plays one way or another. Drury, probably not. Sin, haven't heard enough about him playing to pick him. McAndrew, no. Flanders, yes. I think Flanders plays. Flanders is a very good F6. I just don't have the cash to kind of get there. Unless I was maybe to... Nah, I'd have to drop someone and then make cash somewhere else. Yeah, I think Flanders is good, but the fact that a lot of his scoring came without CBAs means that it is going to fluctuate a lot during the year. So you just got to be cautious of that. I don't think he's a bad pick at all, though. One that I was upping a lot and don't have now is Zeeble. So this is one that I do think is going to come back to bite me. But I like Bruin better. Just because he's a proper midfielder. But Zeeble does have that good year of 107 average. I think it was 2021. Yeah, and he could get defensive DPP, and maybe I'll just bring him in then, and just run him as like D6 or something like that. I don't know. That's one that's really gonna get to me. It's on my mind a heap. Windhager looked good. I think what did he do? Break his hand or something like that. Or sprained his sprained wrist is what they say. But I think it was something with the hand, or at least that's what was first reported. I like the pick. If he's playing Tagger, this isn't good. But if he's playing anything but Tagger in the midfield, it is a pretty good pick. Jai Menzie played alright on the weekend. Didn't really stand out or anything. Delamore was very good, but without CBAs and without mid-time, I don't really like the pick. Even though he's so good at scoring in Supercoach. Petler was alright. I didn't see enough that would say he's a lock for round 1. Rankin was okay. Himmelberg's playing forward, so that's a absolute no-go. Whoever's got this needs to hop off him. Who else we got? Cox is playing Ruck 1, which means Cameron's not really pickable at the moment. We'll see how that changes throughout the year. But yeah, that's about it. So Let me know how everyone else's teams are going. This will probably go up later today. But yeah, I'll see you all next time. 1 week until the season starts. It's pretty cool. I just can't wait for footy to be back. But yeah, tasty out.